Good morning. I wanted to take a few minutes this morning and talk about rebuilding trust. Rebuilding trust is one of the most difficult things a person can do in a relationship. And I'll get into why in a little bit, but also one of the most worthwhile things that we can do. Trust is incredibly important. If we cannot trust our partner, then there isn't really a foundation for a relationship. And trust can be broken very easily. A point I like to make is if someone had an affair and they're trying to work things through with their partner and they're sitting across the couch from them and they send them a text message, it doesn't matter what the message is. If that phone's turned just the wrong way, what's the first thing their partner is probably going to think? Oh, who are you texting, right? Doesn't matter that their phone dings half a second later and it says, I love you. It's already that lack of trust, that breach of trust. So rebuilding trust isn't so much about what we do or say. It's about what does what we do or say look like? How could it be misconstrued by the other person? That's why rebuilding trust is one of the most difficult things, because we essentially have to be perfect. And that is kind of impossible. But the more we work at that, the more we're going to start building trust. One of the other things that makes rebuilding trust so difficult is a person can absolutely change and they're living a very consistent life of that change, but the other person isn't going to see it right away. It could take weeks or months for the other person to start to see and recognize the change that is happening. And all of that's a necessary and normal part of rebuilding trust. So some things that can help to rebuild trust is to be absolutely upfront and honest. If there is a violation, to tell your partner up front, because that violation is going to be a lot smaller than if someone tries to lie or hide it. That's going to absolutely destroy the process of rebuilding trust and basically start over. Another thing is to talk to your partner about what do they expect from you. And not that you're trying to live your life for them, but just so you know what are some things that they're looking at, because you might think that you're acting in a trustworthy way when that might not be what they need to see. And check in with your partner. Give it a couple of weeks. Hey, how's everything going? And be very careful and intentional to live with integrity. If anything that you do might not completely match up with what you're saying or what you said you would do, or anything that you've discussed doing, be very careful with that, because that could be a breach of trust. And then the last thing I'll mention is to pay attention to how things might come across. So even if you have the best of intentions, pause, take a minute, and think, how might this be misunderstood? And if it could be misunderstood, stop. Don't do it. Think of a different way of doing something or saying what you're thinking about doing. And when you do all of this consistently over time, and again, it could take weeks or maybe even a couple of months, just hang in there, keep going with it, and eventually that trust will be rebuilt.